Today for me is not looking great so far, but hello there Vishesh, welcome to the stream. I really don't know what to do with this, honestly. For some known reason, my Elgato is not working. It just keeps on coming up with a red light. And my PlayStation screen cannot work. Or cannot, like, put the screen up on the screen if the Elgato doesn't work. I hate it when this happens. So this is fabulous, guys. This is great. And in a couple of minutes I might need to take a call as well, so that's going to be something as well. I might actually have to try it with a different port down here. My Wi-Fi might go out though, which is going to be really bad. No gameplay today? Trust me. Actually, I'm going to leave that until later, actually, now that I think about it. Okay. I'll leave moving my stuff for later, because if I do try and move anything, my Wi-Fi adapter might disconnect and then it will probably disconnect the stream. So I'm not going to even try and do that right now. So, today's been great so far. I forgot what I was going to do, however. Just have to try and remember it soon. Where's the book? There it is. Alright. How far did we get? Enter until the end of what time? So how did he... Oh, so this is like the past, where Zhang Chong is confused that Wei Wuxian got into the cloud recess when they have a rule of their time. So after a certain time they can't go in, and he then says about Lan Chan fighting him, which is also not permitted, so he's also being punished as well. So, yeah. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes, guys, because I will most likely have a phone call in a minute. So, I'm not gonna do anything right now, but we'll start shortly once I finish my phone call. But yeah, all that's popping up right now for me is that. So I've tried to deactivate it and reactivate it. Actually, I'm gonna default, that's for that. Auto detect. But yeah, that's all it basically comes up with. Because for some known reason, my Elgato just doesn't want to work today. So after the stream, I'm going to have to disconnect everything and reconnect everything. Either that, or I'm going to have to restart my PC to see if it'll work, and restart my PlayStation. Either that, or I need to change my port where I plug in my Elgato. Because it does not seem to be working, and I don't know why. Because a HDMI is in the monitor, and that's in. And my HDMI is in my PlayStation. But when I connect it up to the Elgato, oh, I can see my PlayStation screen, but my Elgato is showing a red light. So, I don't know what's going on, but I can see my PlayStation screen. Oh, good heavens. This is absolutely fabulous. But yeah, now it's deciding to work on my screen, but not on the actual Elgato screen. Let me deactivate it. Let me change the audio buffering to enable and then reactivate it to see if it will do anything. Systems will repair the PC moment. Oh my god, yeah. Elgato's still having a red light, which is fabulous. Thank you, Elgato. Oh, it worked for a split second. I don't know what's going on with this goddamn thing. It's coming up with the red light again. You know what? I'm just gonna leave it until later. It's on my screen right now, so I can still see it. But even still, it's kind of annoying. Also, why haven't I had a phone call yet? That's kind of worrying and not worrying at the same time. Because I should have a phone call. It says 11:30 AM. It's 11:33. Don't know what is going on. Oh man. Koala must have gotten stuck in the toilet or something. Oh my god. Can I refresh this page and then I'm going to ask the channel. Okay, I'm hoping he'll either call me or answer me through that and then call me. But, yeah, we're just gonna chill for a bit, I guess. This call is pretty important, so I need to make sure that I don't miss it. If you ever mute yourself by accident on these streams, I won't be able to tell, so be careful. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll try and keep on looking at it to see if I'm mute or not. I'm hoping my microphone isn't messed up and it's actually working so you can actually hear me, but you know. I'm a bit confused now. It's been 10 minutes. Almost. So I'm a bit worried to see what's happening. Oh, I got a call. Okay, I'll be back in a moment, guys. Alright, well, that phone call is now done. Thank goodness for that. Alright, so now we can officially start with the actual stream. Okay. Can't remember where I got to, but I guess we'll see. Okay, we'll just start on this page and then just go from there, I guess. Alright, here we go. Those who return at night are not permitted to enter until the end of Mao time. So why did he let you in? Zheng Chang questioned. Wei Wuxian shrugged. He didn't. He was demanding I remove the leg I'd put over. How could I do that, right? So, up he came on the roof, airy and light, and demanded to know what was in my head. Zhang Chang only felt his head throb. He had a bad feeling about this. How did you answer? Wei Wuxian replied, It's the Emperor's smile. I'll share a joke with you, so pretend you never saw me, okay? Zhang Chang sighed. The cloud recess prohibits liquor. Now you're doubly guilty. He told me the same thing too, Wei Wuxian said. So I asked him, why don't you tell me what your family doesn't prohibit? He seemed a little angry and told me to go look at the wall of discipline at the front of the main gate. Honestly, over 3,000 rules written in ancient seal scripts, no less. Who's gonna read that? Did you? Did you? Either way, I didn't. What's there to be angry about? That's right. The group felt the same. They started complaining about the various outdated, unfathomable rules of the cloud recess, deeply regretting they hadn't met each other sooner. Whose clan has over 3,000 rules without any repetitions? Never mind the killing prohibited, private fights prohibited, promiscuity prohibited, night outings prohibited, clamour prohibited, I can't even speak, but I can't believe there's also laughing without reason prohibited, improper sitting prohibited, eating more than 3 bowls of rice prohibited. Wei Wuxian cut in quickly. What? Private fights are prohibited too? Zheng Chang said, Yes. Please don't tell me you fought with him. I did, Wei Wuxian admitted, and knocked over a jug of Emperor's Smile too. The group slapped their thighs and exclaimed regretfully about what a shame that was. The situation couldn't get worse either way, so Zhang Chang changed focus. Didn't you get 2 jugs? Where's the other one? I drank it. Where'd you drink it? Zhang Chang asked. In front of his face, I said. Alright. If Cloud Recess prohibits liquor, then I won't go in. I'll drink it on top of the wall. That's not breaking the rules, right? And then I drank every last drop in front of him. And then... Wei Gonzi... Or Wei Shang, sorry. Wei Shang. Li Hasong was utterly shocked. You're so arrogant. Wei Wuxian arched his brows. Lan Chan's skills are pretty good. You're dead, Wei Shang. Lan Chan has never suffered such grief from anyone before. He's never gonna take his eyes off you now. Hi, Bert. You better watch out. Lan Chan may be in the same classes as us, but he's in charge of punishment in the Lan clan. Wei Wuxian wasn't scared in the least. He waved dismissively. What's there to be scared of? Didn't they say Lan Chan is a child prodigy? If he's so precocious, then his Shufu should have taught him everything by now, and he should be spending his days in secluded cultivation without any free time to keep eyes on me. Before he finished, the group rounded the corner of a garden windowed wall and saw a white-clad youth sitting poised and proper within the orchid room. His long hair and forehead ribbon was fastened, and the air around him seemed to be shrouded with icy frost. He shot them a frigid look. It was as if dozens of mouths had been suddenly struck by the silent spell. They quietly entered the orchid room, quietly picked out their seats, and quietly left alone any free seats around Lan Wangji. Lol. I'm just gonna have an old drink real quick. Alright. Zhang Chang tapped Wei Wuxian's shoulder and whispered, "His eyes are on you. Best of luck." Wei Wuxian only needed to turn his neck to see Lan Wangji's side profile. Exceptionally handsome and refined, with long, delicate lashes. His posture was incomparably upright, eyes to the front. He wanted to start a conversation, but just then, Lan Qiren stepped into the orchid room. Lan Qiren was tall and thin, his back as straight as a brush. Although he had a long black goatee, he was most definitely not old, and in line with the Lan clan of Gorsu's tradition of birthing beautiful men every generation. He was most definitely not ugly. Unfortunately, however, a pedantic air surrounded him, so calling him an old man was not out of place in the least. He entered with a scroll in hand, and when opened, it unrolled long and far across the floor. He then started lecturing them on the rules of the Lan clan just like that. His grip on the scroll firmed. The boys present all turned ashen as they listened. Wei Wuxian was bored, his eyes flickering all over, and they eventually flickered back to Lan Wangji's side profile. Seeing how the boy appeared genuinely focused and stern, he was astonished in spite of himself. How does he manage to pay such serious attention to something so boring? Suddenly, up at the front, Lan Qiren threw the scroll down on the floor and sneered. "This is all engraved onto the stone wall, but as no one read it, it seems I must now repeat each rule one by one. Let us see if there will be anyone else using ignorance as an excuse for their transgressions, seeing as there are those who are still inattentive despite this explanation." "Very good. I will lecture on something else." Although his words applied to everyone in the orchid room, Wei Wuxian had a hunch this was a warning targeted at him. Sure enough, Lan Qiren called out, "Wei Ying." "Present," Wei Wuxian answered. "Let me ask you, are Yao, demons, ghosts, and monsters the same thing?" Wei Wuxian replied with a grin, "No." "How are they not? How are they differentiated?" "Yao are formed from non-human living beings. Demons are formed from living humans. Ghosts are formed from deceased humans. Monsters are formed from non-human deceased. Yao and monsters are easily confused. Give an example of their difference." "Easy," Wei Wuxian pointed at the lush green tree outside the orchid room. "For example, a living tree, should it breathe in the air of a scholarship, could cultivate over the span of a century into a spirit and form its own consciousness, and also develop a taste for causing mischief for the living. Such is a Yao. Then I take up an axe and cut the tree down, leaving a dead tree stump, and that stump cultivates into a spirit. Such is a monster." "What was the profession of the founder of the Ni clan of Qinghe?" Butcher. The family insignia of the Jin clan of Lanling is the white peony. What variety of white peony is it? Sparks amidst snow. Who was the first within the cultivation will to focus on strengthening the clan and weakening the sect? The founder of the Win clan, Chisun Wenmo. He answered fluently and without hesitation, while the others listened with trepidation. While they felt relieved, they also prayed that he would never be stumped. Please let him absolutely continue answering like this, so Lan Qiren wouldn't have the chance to pick someone else. Yeah, everyone was kind of annoyed and worried if I got picked by him, because I really didn't want to get his attention. However, Lan Qiren said, as a disciple of the Zheng clan of Yunming, you should be so familiar with all this information that you can recite it without issue. There should be no pride taken in answering correctly. Let me ask you something else. There is an executioner who executed hundreds while alive. His parents and wife are alive and well. He was murdered in town. His corpse lying in open air for 7 days, brewing resentment. He now haunts and perpetrates violence. What is to be done? This time Wei Wuxian didn't immediately respond. The others thought he was stumped and began to fidget in their seats. Lan Qiren berated, "What are you all looking at him for? Everyone, think. Do not consult your books." The students hastily removed the books they were about to frantically flip through and were stumped as well. Murdered in town, a corpse in the air for 7 days. It was the very definition of a major malicious ghost, a great fierce corpse, super difficult to handle. They prayed Old Man Lan would skip them for this question. Seeing how Wei Wuxian hadn't come up with an answer after a while, only looking contemplative, Lan Qiren said, "Wan Ji, tell him what is to be done." Lan Wangji did not look in Wei Wuxian's direction, but only nodded in respect. He then responded in a colourless tone. First, deliverance. Second, suppression. Third, obliteration. Confer with his family and endeavour to learn how to fulfill his dying wish. One must absolve him of his obsession in order to ensure he is released. If the attempt proves futile, then one must suppress him with decision and with force. If his crimes are excessively heinous and his resentment still does not disperse, his existence cannot be tolerated. In this case, he must be eradicated. In discharging duty, cultivators must heed this ordering without error. The class heaved a long sigh, inwardly thanking the heavens and the earth. Thank goodness the old man had picked Lan Wangji. If their turn had come, they would have missed some points or gotten the order wrong. Lan Qiren nodded, pleased. Not a word amiss. After a pause he added, should it be cultivation or conduct? One must always build such solid foundations. If one is proud and arrogant, unruly and divergent, simply because of a false reputation earned from defeating simple mountain spirits, then it invites nothing but future humiliation. Wei Wuxian quirked his brows and cast a glance at Lan Wangji's profile. So this old man really is targeting me. Calling his prized pupil to come to class was nothing more than an attempt to show me up. I have a question, he said. Speak, Lan Qiren said. Wei Wuxian said, although deliverance is the first step, deliverance is often impossible. Fulfill his wish, absolve his attachment is easier said than done. If his wish is for a new set of clothes, then sure. But if it's to kill an entire family for revenge, then what's to be done? Lan Wangji repeated. Deliverance is supplemented by suppression as required. Obliterate when necessary. Wei Wuxian smiled at the response. What a waste of resources. After a pause, he continued. It wasn't that I didn't know the answer. I was just thinking of a fourth option. Can't nail the problem child, lol. I never heard of any fourth option, Lan Qiren said. This executioner died a horrible death, so him transforming into a fierce corpse is inevitable, Wei Wuxian said. Since he executed hundreds whilst alive, why not dig up the graves of those hundreds, awaken their resentment, fuse their skulls, and have them fight the fierce corpse? Lan Wangji finally turned his head to look at him. His expression remained impassive, yet his brows were slightly knit. Lan Qiren was shaking so hard even his goatee was trembling. He shouted, Such ignorance! Everyone within the orchid room was stunned, and Lan Qiren shot to his feet. The purpose of exorcism is deliverance. Not only do you pay no thought to the deliverance methods, you want to awaken a resentful energy? You are reversing the proper order of things, disregarding ethics. Wei Wuxian argued, Some creatures are impossible to deliver anyway, so why not make use of them? When Yu the Great was taming the waters, he already knew blockage was an unwise plan, and that redirection was the way. Suppression is a form of blockage, so isn't that an unwise method? Lan Qiren held a book at him, and he ducked, continuing his nonsense without batting an eye. Spiritual qi is energy. Resentment is also energy. Spiritual qi is stored within the dantian and can be used for great feats. So why can't resentful qi be used the same way? Lan Qiren held another book his way and exclaimed sharply, Then let me ask you, how will you guarantee all this resentful qi will remain under your control and no harm to others? Wei Wuxian ducked as he answered, Haven't thought of that far yet. Lan Qiren was outraged. If you had, then the cultivation world would have no place for you. Get out! Wei Wuxian couldn't have been happier to oblige and quickly got the hell out. He sauntered aimlessly about the cloud recess, spending half the day playing in the greenery. When class was dismissed, it took a while before they found him on top of a wall. Wei Wuxian was sitting atop the black tiles by the head of the wall with a sprig of grass dangling from his lip, his face resting in his right hand. He had one leg propped up while the other hung down, swaying lightly. The people down below pointed at him. Wei Xiong, you're amazing. He told you to get out and you actually left. He couldn't wrap his head around what happened for the longest time after you left. His face was so sour. Turning into the class of dodgeball. Literally, I'm not gonna lie. You even see it in the actual donghua as well. He basically throws things at him. I think at one point as well, Ni Huasong actually gets hit by one of those as well because he dodged. Wei Wuxian dodged, but Ni Huasong didn't, so he got hit in the face instead. So we'll see that in the donghua. I forgot where it was. Oh, here we go. He couldn't wrap his head around what happened for the longest time after you left. His face was so sour. Still with the grass in his mouth, Wei Wuxian shouted down in response. I answered his questions and got out when he told me to. What more does he want from me? Ni Huasong chimed in. Why does it seem that Old Man Lan is particularly strict with you? Calling you out in front of everyone to scold? Zhang Chang humphed. Serves him right. What's with those answers? All that nonsense is okay to say at home. Whatever. But to say it in front of Lan Qiren? He's asked for it. Wei Wuxian replied. He won't like me either, so I might as well say what I want. Besides, it's not like I called him names. I only gave honest answers, that's all. Niu Huasong contemplated this. Then envy began to surface on his face. What Wei Song said is actually very interesting. Obtaining spiritual qi requires cultivating laboriously. I think that's the word. Laboriously forming. Oh, I think the stream's being weird again. Okay, I think it's back to normal. Okay. And there's Lan Wangji, a picture of Lan Wangji looking back at Wei Wuxian with Zhang Cheng being annoyed with Wei Wuxian and Li Huasong following along. The three trio. A golden core. Through the throughout Modazushi, you'll probably hear about something called a golden core. It's basically someone's soul, someone's chi, on how they gain their energy and stuff like that, and how they cultivate. Without their core, they don't have any energy. And if it's destroyed, I think they die, I believe they die. We'll know that anyway in the future, I believe. Who knows how long that'll take for someone like me. Any aptitude I have seems like it got chewed on by dogs in a mother's womb. But resentful chi, that's abundantly produced by all those nefarious creatures out there. If it could be put to use, how nice would that be? The golden core was a core of formed... What? I can't even speak now. The golden core was a core formed from within the body of a cultivator, once they had cultivated to a certain level, and its purpose was to store and generate spiritual power. Once a core formed, one's cultivation power would skyrocket and would only become greater and greater the more one cultivated, surmounting the highest peaks. Without a core, one was considered to be an unqualified cultivator. This is also one of the reasons why Wei Wuxian is a demonic cultivator now, and we will find out later on why he had to be on that path and what happened to his golden core. But I'm not going to spoil it right now because that'll actually spoil it for like near to the end, so I'm not going to do anything with that. If a prominent clan's junior formed their cores too late, it would be too great an embarrassment to speak of. Niu Huasong wasn't the least bit ashamed, however, and Wei Wuxian was laughing in response. Right? It'd be a waste not to use it. Enough, Zhang Cheng warned. You can talk about it all you want, but don't actually go down those deviant paths. Wei Wuxian laughed. Why would I leave the grand avenue under the sun to walk the single planked bridge in the shadows? If it's that easy to walk it, someone would have done so already. Relax, he's asking his questions and I'm just answering them. Hey guys, coming? Come hunt pheasants with me before curfew starts. Zhang Cheng scolded. What pheasants? Where did you see pheasants here? Go transcribe the Righteousness Collection. Lan Qiren told me to tell you to copy the highest justice. Chapter 3 times... Wait, what? Lan Qiren told me to tell you to copy the highest justice. Chapter 3 times? So you can learn what ethics and natural law are all about. The Righteous Collection was the Lan family precepts. The family precepts were so numerous that Lan Qiren had edited and assembled them into a thick collection and the highest justice and standard etiquette chapters took up most of the work. When is the next chapter? At least at the end of the chapter, we'll see something pretty cute. But we're definitely gonna not get to chapter 5 by the end of the stream. Okay. Where the fuck was I? Oh, there. Wei Wuxian spat out the sprig of grass in his mouth, dusted off his boots, and said, "Copy 3 times? I'll ascend after the first time. I'm not a Lan, and I don't plan on marrying into the lands." You say that now, Wei Wuxian, you say that now. Oh, okay. I'm not a Lan, you soon will be. And I don't plan on marrying into the lands, you will be. So, what do I need to copy their family precepts for? I refuse. You will. Ni Huasong quickly said, "I'll copy it for you." "There's always something fishy about someone being so helpful out of nowhere," Wei Wuxian said. "Go on, tell me. What do you need from me?" "You see, Wei Song," Ni Huasong explained, "the old man Lan has a bad habit. He abruptly stopped mid-sentence. He cleared his throat, opened his fan, and shrank to the side. Wei Wuxian knew something was up, and when he looked down, sure enough, Lan Wangji was standing a distance away under a lush ancient tree, with Bichen carried on his back. He was watching the group from afar. He was graceful and elegant, as if himself was a tree of jade, mottled with the shadows of the leaves and the sun's rays, and yet his gaze was exceptionally unfriendly. Meeting his glare was akin to plunging into an icy cellar. Everyone knew they'd been a little too loud shouting back and forth earlier, and it was probably that commotion that had drawn him over, so they very cautiously shut up. The thing is, even though his stare can be icy and cold, that could mean a different meaning to him because he's emotionless and doesn't really show emotion. So when he talks or is near Wei Wuxian, it has a different meaning than being with anyone else. So if, for example, Lan Xiten, Lan Wangji's brother, comes into the room with Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian, he knows that Lan Wangji is enjoying his presence around him, because obviously he has a crush on him. The thing is, I think the reason why Wei Wuxian acts the way he does in the past, I feel like that's also one of the reasons why Lan Wangji likes him anyway. So as soon as he gets to know him and he gets being around him and stuff like that for a long period of time, he basically just loves him so much. Even if he doesn't show his emotions and stuff, he loves him so much. And we'll soon find out what Lan Wangji says to his brother when Wei Wuxian starts to go onto the demonic path. But that's way in the future, and I just lost track of where I was. Fuck. I missed the page. I think this is the page, yep. Okay, where was I? Ah, here we go. Wei Wuxian, however, jumped down and went over to call after him. "Wangji-song?" Lan Wangji turned and left immediately, but Wei Wuxian chased after him excitedly, shouting, "Wangji-san, wait for me!" The white robe and its airy sashes flashed behind the tree and instantly disappeared without a trace, a clear indication that Lan Wangji did not want to converse with him. Having been met only with his retreating figure, Wei Wuxian felt snubbed and turned back to the others to accuse him. He ignored me. No shit. Lan likes rebels? Oh, he does. Trust me. He's like, one of those, what is it in those types of terms? A brat that needs to be tamed, and in the future he tames him. Well, sort of tames him. I mean, he's very mischievous and likes to do what he wants. And in the future, Lanwanji just lets him do whatever the hell he wants. But I think with them being together for a long period of time, I think they've gotten used to each other and feel like it's not really necessary to tell each other the rules and stuff like that, to read and write all the different rules down. It's so interesting how they went from this stage to just being comfortable around each other. I mean, in the future, Lanwanji doesn't want to be out of his sight. He wants him to be near him all the time because he lost him once, he doesn't want to lose him again. And then he starts to show his emotions for him, and he starts to show his love for him. So when the whole confession and all that happened, well, the confession was quite interesting and funny at the same time, but when all that happened, especially afterwards, Wei Wuxian definitely knows that they love each other. So yeah, that's fun. Tame, huh? Trust me. In some of the uncensored scenes and stuff like that, yeah, tame is definitely a word for it. Here we go. Yeah, Ni Huasong said. Oh, yeah, Ni Huasong said. Looks like he really doesn't like you, Wei Song. Lanwanji usually... No, he's never this rude. He hates me already. I was gonna apologize. Zhang Chang said sardonically. Now you're apologizing? Too late. Just like his Shufu, he probably thinks you're completely evil. A bad apple. He won't care to give you the time of day. Wei Wuxian didn't care. He chuckled aloud. He can ignore me all he wants. It's not like he's even that pretty. Yeah, right. Oh, that kind of... Yeah, that kind of tame. Where the fuck was I now? But then he thought about it. Yes, the boy was indeed that pretty. So he nonchalantly tossed that pouty feeling to the back of his mind. Of course he knows that he's pretty. He knows that he's hot. He just doesn't want to admit it in front of everyone, because people think that he's a cut sleeve. But in the end, he is. 3 days later, Wei Wuxian finally became intimately familiar with the Lan Qiren's bad habits. Lan Qiren's lectures were excessively and incomparably long, and everything had to be tested or written out from memory alone. The changes of cultivation clans throughout the generations, the definition of power, distinguished cultivators and famous quotes, the clan pedigree. Attending these lectures was like listening to the incomprehensible scripture of heaven, and writing from memory was like slavery. Ni Huasong helped Wei Wuxian copy Highest Justice twice, and before the exam he begged him for aid. Please, I beg you, Wei Song. This is my 3rd year attending school at Gusu. If I get another year evaluation and my older brother really will break... Wait, what? If I get another year evaluation, my older brother really will break my legs. Differentiating between all of the direct bloodlines, the collateral bloodlines, head family or branch family juniors. from prominent clans like us can't even get our own relatives straight. Our relatives twice removed. Oh, any relatives twice removed. We just called them aunts and uncles or whatever. Who has the extra brain power to memorize someone else's family? That's true. During the exam, all the little cheat sheets flying about were intercepted by the sudden appearance of Lan Wangji, who was also caught by the troublemaking ringleaders. Lan Quan was outraged and sent letters to every major clan to lodge complaints with profound bitterness. Although this gang of juniors had been unable to sit still at first, at least no one had started anything, managing to keep their butts stuck to their calves. But once that Wei Ming had showed up, the brats who previously had dared to act out all encountered hadn't dared to act out, were all encouraged. Oh, I can't even speak. The brats who previously hadn't dared to act out were all encouraged to mischief, venturing out at night. Oh, 1 second. Okay. Venturing out at night, drinking alcohol, doing as they pleased. The trend of delinquency grew as time went by. This Wei Ming really was, as he had expected, the largest threat to humanity. You have no idea what he's going to do with your nephew then. Zhang Fengmian responded, Ying has always been thus. Thank you, Lan Sonsheng, for taking the trouble to discipline him. And so Wei Wuxian was punished again. He didn't care at first. It was just book copying, right? He never lacked for people willing to help. Yet unexpectedly this time, Li Huasong said, Wei Sheng, I'd really love to help, but I can't. Good luck holding out on your own. What? Wei Wuxian said. Old Li Huasong paused and then continued on. Lan Shansheng said this time you'll have to copy highest justice and standard etiquette at the same time. Standard etiquette was the most tedious chapter of the 12 in the Lan Clan precepts. Referring classics loudly... Oh, I can't even speak. Referencing classics, lousy and long, and amazingly replete with uncommon words to boot. One would lose all interest in life after copying it once. Copy it 10 times, and you'd ascend on the spot. Okay. Ni Huasong added, he also said that no one is allowed to hang around you for the duration of the punishment, and no one is allowed to help you copy it down. Wei Wuxian was amazed. How would he know if I got help with copying or not? What, is he going to get someone to supervise me or something? Correct, Zhang Cheng said. What? Zhang Cheng said. He said you will not be permitted to go out. Every day, oh my god, every day means every day. Every day you are only to go straight to the Lan Library Pavilion to copy the book, and you reflect on yourself against the wall for a month while you're at it. Of course, there'll be someone watching you. As for who it is, there's no need for me to elaborate, is there? Inside the library pavilion, a verdant mat, a wooden desk, 2 dishes of candles, 2 people at one end. One sat poised and proper, on the other Wei Wuxian had copied a dozen pages of standard etiquette, and his head was swimming. Feeling bored, he abandoned the brush for a breath of fresh air and peered over to the opposite side. Back at Yunmeng, there had only been plenty of girls at the Zhang household. Envious that he would attend the same school as Lan Wangji, saying that the Lan clan of Gosu produced beautiful men every generation, and the twin Jades, the two Lan brothers, were particularly exceptional. Wei Wuxian hadn't initially had the chance to scrutinize Lan Wangji's full face properly, but now that he had, he let his thoughts fly. He is fairly pretty. His face has nothing to pick on. I really just want those girls to come see for themselves that if you constantly wear a profoundly bitter scowl like you just lost your parents, you can't be saved no matter how pretty you are. But the teasing does not stop. Look, Wei Wuxian loves fucking teasing Lan Wangji. It's funny. Lan Wangji was transcribing anew the ancient books that had been stored in the Lan Library Pavilion for ages, but which were too inconvenient to bring out to show outsiders. His brushstrokes were unhurried and deliberate, the writing proportioned and its character clean. Wei Wuxian blurted praise in spite of himself. Beautiful writing. Best of the best. Lan Wangji remained unmoved. Wei Wuxian seldom kept his mouth closed for such a long expanse of time. He was going crazy. He thought, this guy is so dull. If I sit here with him for hours a day for an entire month, won't that kill me? Having thought this, he couldn't help but lean forward a bit. Wei Wuxian was very good at finding ways to amuse himself, and he was especially an expert in finding joy amidst suffering. Since there was nothing else to play with, he could only play with Lan Wangji. Wangji-san, he said. Lan Wangji steadfastly stood his ground. Wei Wuxian tried again. Wangji. It fell on deaf ears. Wei Wuxian continued. Lan Wangji. Wei Wuxian persisted. Lan-chan. Lan Wangji finally paused in his writing and looked up in a cold gaze. Wei Wuxian dodged back, raising his hands in defense. Don't look at me like that. I only called you by your birth name, because you won't answer to Wangji. If you're not happy about it, then you can call me by my birth name too. Put your legs down, Lan Wangji said. One likes teasing, the other likes taming. Trust me, that's literally like the entire story, I swear. When, in the future, when Lan Wangji is older and, well, after they confess their love for each other, he likes to sometimes tame him, but he also likes to just show love consistently for him. So 1 minute Wei Wuxian could be all lovey-dovey with him, and the next he could be a rebel, causing mischief for him, teasing him, and then Lan Wangji has to tame him. So that's funny. Wei Wuxian's sitting posture was extremely improper, with his body slouched and his legs propped up. Seeing that he'd finally been able to tease Lan Wangji into talking, he was secretly delighted, like he'd seen the bright moon at last after waiting for the clouds to part. He obediently put his legs down, but leaned forward in the process, without realizing it, his arms pressed down on the desk, still an unmannerly sitting position. He asked sternly, Lan-chan, I have a question for you. Do you really hate me? Lan Wangji lowered his eyes, his lashes casting light shadows over his jade-like cheeks. Wei Wuxian said promptly, Oh, don't ignore me after a few words. I want to offer you an apology, to say sorry. Look at me. After a pause, he continued. Won't look at me? Fine, then I'll go ahead. It was my fault that night. I was wrong. I shouldn't have scaled the wall. I shouldn't have drunk the booze. I shouldn't have fought you. But I swear I wasn't trying to provoke you on purpose. I really just didn't look at the family's rules. The family precepts of the Jan clan are all passed around by word of mouth. None of it is written down. I never would have done any of that otherwise. Never would have drunk an entire jug of Emperor's Smile in front of you. I'd have tucked it in my robes and snuck it back into my room to enjoy. I'd drink it every day. I'd share it with everyone, and we'd all have our fill. Wei Wuxian continued. Besides, let's be reasonable here. Who was the one to start that fight? You. If you hadn't made the first move, we could have talked properly and cleared up that little misunderstanding. But if someone attacks me, I have to fight back. You can't blame me for that. Lanchan, are you listening? Look at me. Lan Gongzi. He snapped his fingers. Lana Gugu. Come on, grab me some face. Look at me. Without lifting his eyes at all, Lan Wangji said, transcribe it all an additional time. Wei Wuxian instantly slumped to the ground. Don't be like that. I said I was sorry. Lan Wangji exposed him heartlessly. You are not remorseful in the least. Wei Wuxian said without any dignity, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I can say it as many times as you like. I can even kneel and say it. Hello. Kneel. Lan Wangji put down his brush. Wei Wuxian thought he had finally had enough and was going to punch him. But just as he was about to flash him a silly grin, he suddenly realized his upper and lower lips were glued together, and he could laugh no more. His expression dropped drastically, and he struggled to speak. Lan Wangji closed his eyes and let out a small sigh. When he opened his eyes anew, he was tranquil once more, picking up his brush as if nothing had happened. Wei Wuxian had already heard of how abominable the land silencing spell was, but he had refused to believe the hearsay that it could actually silence him. Yet after doing all he could, scratching his lips until they were red, he still couldn't open his mouth no matter what, and he pulled out a sheet of paper, his brush flying over it rapidly before he tossed the note over. Lan Wangji cast a glance at it and said, frivolous. Then he rolled the paper into a ball and tossed it. Wei Wuxian rolled on his mat in a fit of anger, then crawled up and scribbled out another one, slapping it down in front of Lan Wangji. It was once again rolled into a ball and tossed out. The silence spell lasted until he finished copying. When he came to the library pavilion the next day, the paper balls strewn all over the floor from the day before had been all cleared away. Wei Wuxian had always been someone who'd forget the pain once the wound was healed. He suffered at the hands of the silent spell the very day before, and after sitting for 3/4 of an hour, he was restless again. It only took a few brashly spoken words before he was silenced once more. Since he couldn't talk, he doodled all over the papers and shoved them over to Lan Wangji's side of the table, where they were all rolled into balls and tossed to the ground. 3 days passed in this way. Having been silenced repeatedly thus, upon the day of this wall reflection, Lan Wangji thought there was something off about Wei Wuxian. During his stay at Gusu, he had left his sword all over the place. Never once has he seen carrying it. Yet today, he had brought it and placed it next to the desk. What was more, instead of launching into his usual routine of endlessly annoying and harassing Lan Wangji, He did not utter a single word, but took up the brush as soon as he sat down. He was so obedient. It was peculiar. Lan Wangji had no reason to cast the silent spell. He took another look at him, and then another. And if he couldn't believe Wei Wuxian had all of a sudden decided to settle down, sure enough, Wei Wuxian didn't sit for long before he started acting up again. He sent a sheet of paper over, gesturing for him to look. Lan Wangji thought it would just be more nonsensical, frivolous words, but something made him glance at it. It was a portrait. The subject was sitting prim and proper, reading silently by the window, the expression and demeanour remarkably realistic. It was him. Wei Wuxian saw he hadn't moved his eyes away from the paper and curled his lips. Quirking his brows at him, he winked. There was no need for words. His meaning was plain as day. Doesn't it look like you? Is it good? Lan Wangji said unhurriedly. To waste time doodling instead of copying the text, I believe your punishment will never end. Wei Wuxian blew at this still wet ink on the portrait and replied nonchalantly, I already finished, so I'm not coming tomorrow. Lan Wangji's long, slender fingers seemed to falter for a second over the yellowed scrolls before flipping to the next page, surprisingly not silencing him. Seeing how his tricks didn't work, Wei Wuxian lightly tossed the drawing his way. For you. The drawing landed on the mat, but Lan Wangji showed no signs of taking it. In the past few days, Wei Wuxian had written to curse him, to curry favour, to admit fault, to beg for mercy, to scribble out more random drawings. The papers were all treated the same way, so he was used to it and didn't mind. Suddenly he said, I forgot there's something I gotta add for you. He then picked up the paper and brush and added a few strokes. He looked at the drawing, then at the real person, and then fell to the ground laughing. Lan Wangji placed his book down and cast the paper a glance. As it turned out, Wei Wuxian had added a flower next to his ear in the drawing. His lips seemed to have twitched. Wei Wuxian crawled upright and cut in first. Frivolous, right? I know you were going to say frivolous. Can you switch it up? Maybe add a word or two? Lan Wangji said coldly. Exceedingly frivolous. Wei Wuxian clapped. Added a word as expected. Thank you. Lan Wangji withdrew his gaze and picked up the book he'd placed on the desk earlier, flipping it open anew. Yeah, Wei Wuxian is very much loving the idea of just teasing him consistently. He had only taken a brief look before he threw it away as if he'd been burnt by fire. Okay, by this entire, couple of pages, basically, Wei Wuxian was acting normal for a change, and obediently, sat there and was quiet, but he was basically drawing Lan Wangji, because he was so still and didn't really say or do anything. So, when he gave his portrait of him to Lan Wangji, Lan Wangji thought to himself, oh my god, he has drawn me, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. This is a punishment for who exactly? It was a punishment for both of them at this point. But Wei Wuxian was making the most out of the punishment by having a little bit of fun and teasing him. Oh, this next part! Oh my god! Yes, I love this next part. Okay, here we go. He had only taken a brief look before he threw it away as if he'd been burnt by fire. What he'd been reading before was a Buddhist sutra. When he opened the book and glanced at it just now, his vision was assaulted by naked, untangled figures. untangled, entangled figures, revolting to his eyes. The volume he had been reading at first was being swapped with erotica, with a cover to disguise it as a sutra. He didn't need a brain in his head to guess who had done this good and generous deed. It had to be a certain someone who had done it while he was distracted by the drawing. Not to mention, Wei Wuxian had no intention of pretending otherwise at all, and was laughing uproariously while slapping the table. Oh. That book was thrown to the ground as Lan Wangji instantly retreated to the corner of the library pavilion like he was avoiding a venomous creature. He roared in extreme outrage. Wei Ying! Wei Wuxian was laughing so hard he was practically rolling underneath the desk. Arduously did he finally raise his head. Here, I'm here! Oh man. If no one knows what the erotica is, it's basically like a porn book, basically. Like a porn magazine or some shit. And it was also, I think it was a gay porn book as well, so... I don't know actually, because I think he got the book from Ni Huasong, I'm not quite sure. Either that, Zhang Cheng would never have given it him, I think it was Ni Huasong. But yeah, it was a porn book basically, and Lan Wangji saw it and was disgusted, but he wasn't. He is totally into that stuff. But he obviously didn't want to show it in front of Wei Wuxian, so there you go. Lan Wangji swiftly drew Bichen. Wei Wuxian had never seen him so flustered in the time they had known each other. He hastily grabbed his own sword, flashed 3 parts of the blade out of the sheath, and reminded him, "Manners, Lanagonze." Oh, my phone's going off again, 1 second. Okay. I just let my dog out, so I will have to let her back in soon. But because it's sunny, she might stay there a little bit longer. But yeah, sorry, I just had a call from my mom. She's on holiday right now, so she just called me to see how everything was. Okay. Where was we at? Here we go. Wei Wuxian saw he hadn't moved his eyes away from the paper and curled his lips. Quirking his brows at him, he winked. There was no need for words. His meaning was plain as day. Oh no, that was something else. That was the page previously. Okay, I'm on this page. He hastily grabbed his own sword, flashed 3 parts of the blade out of the sheath, and reminded him, "Manners, Lanagonsu. What's your manners? I brought a sword today too. If we start fighting, what's going to happen to your family library pavilion?" He had already anticipated that Lan Wangji would be shamed into anger, so he had brought a sword for self-defense, in case Lan Wangji accidentally stabbed him to death in his rage. Lan Wangji pointed at him with his sword, those light-coloured eyes practically shooting flames. "What kind of person are you?" "What else can I be?" Wei Wuxian replied. "A man." "Shameless," Lan Wangji denounced scathingly. "Do you need to feel shame over something like this? Don't tell me you've never seen that sort of thing." "I don't believe it," Wei Wuxian said. Lan Wangji's biggest disadvantage was not knowing how to curse. After needing a good moment to contain himself, he finally waved his sword at Lan Wangji with face of frozen frost. "Get out. We will fight." Wei Wuxian shook his head repeatedly, pretending to be cute and obedient. "Nope, not fighting. Didn't you know, Lanagonzu? The Cloud Recess prohibits private fights." He was about to pick up the discarded book when Lan Wangji rushed over and took it. Wei Wuxian quickly guessed that he planned on using the book as evidence to report him, so he intentionally asked, What are you so grabby for? I thought you weren't going to look at it. You want to know now?" "You don't have to be so aggressive. If you do, you know. I borrowed it specifically to share with you. Now that you've seen my erotica, you're my friend. We can keep sharing. There's even more." Friendly, imagine. Lan Wangji was completely pale. Now he announced each of these words. "I will not look at it." Wei Wuxian continued to twist the truth. "Why are you grabbing for it if you're not going to look? Keeping it for yourself? That won't do. I borrowed it from someone else. When you're done, I have to return it. Hey, where are you? If you come too close, I'll get nervous. We can talk. You're not thinking of handing that in, are you? Who will hand it to you? Who will you hand it to? To your Shufu? Lanagonzu? Is that something that can be shown to the clan elders? They'll definitely suspect you've already peeked at it yourself. You're so thin-faced, won't you die of embarrassment?" Lan Wangji's spiritual power poured into his right hand, and the book was ripped into thousands of shreds that whirled into the air, that fluttered down. Seeing that he had successfully destroyed the evidence, Wei Wuxian relaxed and pretended to feel regret. What a waste. He plucked a piece of the shredded paper from his hair and held it up to show Lan Wangji, who had gone pale with anger. "Lan Chen, you're good at everything, but that habit of yours of throwing things around is awful. Look at yourself. How many paper balls have you tossed on the floor in the past few days? And now you're bored with paper balls. So you're ripping up paper for the fun? Clean up after yourself, yeah? I'm not going to help you. Of course, he never had helped to begin with. Lan Wangji tried to endure it, but in the end he could not. He shouted angrily, "Get lost!" Group erotica shows session in ancient China. Some things don't change. Oh my god. Damn it, Lan Chan, Wei Wuxian said. They all say you're a shining man of virtue, light of this world, that you have the best manners. Turns out that's only half true. The cloud recess prohibits clamour, did you know that? And you actually told me to get lost. Is this the first time you've ever said something like that? Lan Wangji brandished his sword and lunged. Wei Wuxian quickly hopped onto the windowsill. I'll get lost. I'm excellent at getting lost. No need to see me off. When he jumped down from the library pavilion, he laughed boisterously like a lunatic as he charged headlong into the forest. There was already a group waiting for him there. Ni Huasong asked, "How did it go? Did he see it? What was his reaction?" His reaction? Wei Wuxian said. Didn't you guys hear how loud he yelled just now? I've got to get my dog in. I'll be back in a second, guys. But yeah, Ni Huasong actually gave him the erotica book just to show Lan Wangji, so it's funny as fuck. I'll be back in a moment, guys. Okay. Dog's back in. Okay. Ni Huasong was full of admiration. We heard. We told you to get lost. He told you to get lost. Wei Sheng, this is the first time I've heard Lan Wangji tell anyone to get lost. How did you do it? Wei Wuxian preened triumphantly at his success. There is much to celebrate. I helped him break that rule today. You all saw it, right? The self-restraint and discipline that the world praises Lana Grandeur for collapses before me. Zhang Chang glowered and scolded. What nonsense. What's there to be so proud of? Is it such an honour to have people tell you to get lost? What an embarrassment for our family. Wei Wuxian said, I was going to apologize, but he kept ignoring me. He'd already silenced me for so many days, so what if I tease him a little? Too bad about that prized erotica of yours, Hua Song. I hadn't even finished reading it yet. It was so peculiar. Lan Chan really didn't get it. Really doesn't get it. He got all upset and, when I showed it to him, what a waste of that face of his. It's not too much of a loss, Ni Hua Song said. There's plenty more where that came from. Zhang Chang sneered. You've thoroughly offended both Lan Wangji and Lan Qiron now. Get ready to die tomorrow. No one will collect your corpse for you. Wei Wuxian waved him off and then hooked his arm around Zhang Chang's shoulder. Who cares? I'll tease him a bit more before I go. You've already collected my corpse so many times, once more won't hurt. Zhang Chang struck out with a kick. Away with you. Next time you do something like this, don't let me know. And don't tell me to come watch either. In order to prevent the old stick in the mud, and the little stick in the mud from attacking him in the middle of the night, and howling at him out of bed for punishment, Wei Wuxian slept hugging his sword the entire night. He would have thought that all would be peaceful until the next day. It was then that Ni Hua Song came to find him elated. Wei Song, you really have the best of luck. The old man went to attend the symposium hosted by my family at Xinghe. We don't have class for the next few days. The old one was gone, leaving the little one, and he was a piece of cake to handle. Wei Wuxian scrambled out of bed, tugging on his boots. He said happily, Well, doesn't fortune smile down on me today? Auspicious clouds above tell me that heaven's got my back. On the side, Zhang Chang was wiping his sword with the utmost care while he rained on his parade. You still won't escape punishment when he comes back. Why worry about what happens to us after we die? Let's just live freely while we're still alive. I refuse to believe I can't find a couple little pheasants on this land's mountain. The three strolled out, arms around each other's shoulders, as they passed by the Cloud Recess's reception hall, the elegance room. Wei Wuxian suddenly chuckled and stopped in his tracks. He said amazed, 2 little sticks in. Lanterns! A number of people emerged from the elegant room, but the ones leading the group were 2 young men. Their faces were sculptured eyes and refined jade, and they were clad in attire as white as snow. Even the tassels swaying from their hilts of the swords on their backs danced airily in the wind. It was only their demeanour and expressions that told off the difference between them. Wei Wuxian could immediately tell the ones with the stiff face was Lan Wangji. This meant the gentle-looking one must be the other twin jade of the Lan clan, sobriquet Zuijun, courtesy name Lan Xitian. So basically both brothers were coming out of the courtesy room or whatever it was called. When Lan Wangji spotted Wei Wuxian, his brows furrowed. He was practically shooting him a death glare, as if he'd be corrupted if he looked at him for a second longer. He moved his eyes to gaze into the far distance. Lan Xichen, on the other hand, smiled. Because he's totally a Wangsun shipper. He ships Lan Wangji with Wei Wuxian very hard. Because he knows that his brother loves Wei Wuxian. So that's why he's his #1 fan. And that is canon. So, yeah. Zhang Chang gestured in courtesy. Zhang Wan Yin of Young Men. Wei Wuxian gestured in courtesy as well. Wei Wuxian of Young Men. Lan Xichen returned the greeting. Ni Hua Song squeaked his soft voice as a mosquito. Mosquitoes? Ni Hua Song squeaked his voice soft as the mosquitoes. Xichen Gege. Lan Xichen said, Hua Song, I have recently returned from Xinghe. Your older brother was asking after your studies. How go things? Will you be able to pass this year? For the most part, yes. Ni Huasong was like a wilted squash after frost, looking pleadingly at Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian grinned widely. Zuojin, where are you off to? To exterminate evil water ghosts, Lan Xichen replied. We are short on capable hands, so I returned to find Wan Ji. Lan Wangji said coldly, Song Song, no need to speak over much on the matter. Time is of the essence, let us depart. Wei Wuxian quickly stopped him. Hold on. I know how to catch water ghosts. Zuojin, why don't you bring us along? Lan Xichen smiled, but did not speak, and Lan Wangji said, It is against the rules. How is it against the rules? Wei Wuxian demanded. We're always catching water ghosts back on Yunming. Besides, it's not like that there's school these few next days. Yunming was replete with lakes and other bodies of water, teeming with water ghosts, so the Zhang classmen truly were experts in this area. Zhang Cheng also wanted to regain the considerable amount of faith the Zhang clan of Yunming had lost during their stay at the Lan sect, so he chimed in. That's right, Zuojin. We can definitely help. Unnecessary. The Lan clan of Gosu can also... Lan Wangji hadn't finished when Lan Xichen said with a smile, That may not be a bad idea. Thank you in advance. Go make your preparations and we will depart together. Will Huasong join us? Although Ni Huasong wanted to go with the party, the sight of Lan Xichen reminding him of his older brother and guilt seized him, so he didn't dare lark around. I'll pass. I'll go back and review my studies. So, at this point, because Lan Xichen is a #1 shipper for Wangxian, he let his brother speak and understood what was going on between Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji, and he noticed that Lan Chen wanted him to come with us, with them, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I can't speak anymore. But he knew that he wanted him to come with them, so he basically stepped in saying, "Oh yeah, you can come with us. Yeah. Go get preparations. It's fine." And then later on, his brother is just gonna be like, "What the hell did you do that for?" And then Lan Xichen is like, "I know you'd like the guy. Shut up and let him come with us." Where was I? Here we go. This studious posturing was done in the hopes that next time, Lan Xichen would say more good things about him in front of his older brother. As for Wei Wuxian and Zhang Cheng, they returned to their rooms to make preparations. Lan Wangji watched their retreating backs with a puzzled frown. Xiang, why bring them? Joking and larking about is unsuitable during spirit extermination. Lan Xichen replied, Sect leader Zhang's chief disciple, and his only son both have a fair reputation in Yunmeng. They may not know how to joke. They may not only know how to joke and lark about. Lan Wangji did not comment, but his face was written with a certain sentiment that could have said, I beg to differ. Lan Xichen said, Besides, were you not amenable to the offer of his company? Lan Wangji was dumbfounded. Lan Xichen explained, I only agreed because I saw you looks like you might want sect leader Zhang's eldest disciple to come with us. Which is basically Wei Wuxian, by the way. Before the elegance room, the silence was like frozen ice. It was a good moment before Lan Wangji said, arduously, nothing of the sort. He wished to defend himself further, but Wei Wuxian and Zhang Cheng had already returned speedily, their swords on their backs. Thus, Lan Wangji had no choice but to remain silent, and the group mounted their swords and took off. He totally wanted him to come with him. Brother is a wingman, hell to the yes. Lancy Chen is the #1 shipper for Longshen, and I'm all down for it. We love Lancy Chen. I just feel like Lancy Chen is very oblivious to other people other than his brother and Wei Wuxian. So, yeah. But, yeah. I don't remember. Okay, now I remember what happens next. But let me have a think of what happens real quick before I read any more. So they go there. They do that. That happens. Then something happens after that. I don't remember what happens after that. And I think they go home. I think. No, they don't, because of the next thing. Yes. Okay, wait. Where is that picture then? It's all the way over here. So wait, when is the next chapter? Oh, okay, so it's not that bad. I don't think we're going to be finishing it in this stream, but next stream we'll definitely be able to get to chapter 5. Lan Wangji is not very good at showing his emotions and feelings. So when it comes to Lancy Chen knowing what Lan Wangji is feeling, he knows that he wants Wei Wuxian to go with him. So, big shipper. Love it. It's great. The place haunted by the water ghosts was called Kai Yi Town, and it was more than 10 kilometers away from the Cloud Recess. Kai Yi Town was woven through with scores of waterways. It could have been said that the little city was covered with a dense net formed of tangled rivers, or perhaps it was that the densely packed local houses among the shores were what discovered the cobweb-like waterways. The truth of it was unclear. Lined by the little houses with white walls and grey-tiled roofs, the riverways were crowded with boats filled with men and women, and baskets upon baskets, blooming bouquets, fresh vegetables and fruits, bamboo crafts and cakes, tofu and tea, and fine silk, all sorts of teeming trade bustling around the riverway. Gusu was situated in Zhongnan, and the lilted local dialect was soft and sweet to hear. 2 of the boats crashed head-on, toppling several jugs of sticky rice liquor. But even the resulting argument between the 2 boatmen sounded like the chirping of birds. There were many lakes in Yunmeng, but such small water towns were few and far between. Wei Wuxian watched curiously, then took out some money to buy 2 jugs of the sticky rice liquor, passing one to Zheng Cheng. The way the Gosu people speak is so kittenish. How is that arguing? They should see how people of Yunmeng fight. It'll terrify them. Lanchan, what are you looking at? What are you looking at me for? I didn't get you one, but it's not because I'm stingy. People of your clan aren't allowed to drink, right? Without further ado, the group aboarded dozens of little sampans, poling toward where the water ghosts were gathering. The locals crowded either shore gradually lessened in number, and the riverways also became still and quiet. I think that's my brother. I think. I believe it is. Wei Wuxian and Zhang Chang each took over a sampan and were racing to see who could go faster while listening to the arrangements concerning the local evil water ghosts. This riverway led to a vast lake called Bailing Lake. For decades, there had never been any hauntings by water ghosts at Kai Yi Town. In recent months, however, there had been many who fell into the water in this riverway as well as in Bailing Lake. and cargo ships would randomly sink. Many days ago, Lancy Chen had set up an array to cast a net. He thought he would capture a few ghosts on his first attempt. Who would have imagined that he would catch over a dozen instead? Once the faces of those corpses were washed and the bodies brought to the nearby towns for inspection, a surprising number of them remained unclaimed. None of the locals knew them. When the array was set again just yesterday, plenty more had been captured. Wei Wuxian commented, "It doesn't really appear to be the case that they drowned elsewhere and were washed down here. It doesn't really appear to be the case that they drowned elsewhere and were washed down here by the currents." Water ghosts are a territorial sort. They usually only recognize one body of water, the one where they drowned. Very seldom do they leave it. Lancy Chen nodded. Correct. Which is why I feel this is no trivial matter, and had Wan Ji come in case something unpredictable happens. What is going on downstairs? I think he let my dog out. Wei Wuxian said, "Zhujun, water ghosts are all super intelligent. If we take our time poling around like this, won't the search take forever? What if they all hide at the bottom of the lake and we can't find them?" Lan Wangji said, "We only stop when they are found. It is our duty." "So we use nets?" Wei Wuxian asked. "Correct," Lan Xichen said. "Could the Zhang clan of Yunming have other methods?" Wei Wuxian smiled but didn't answer. The Zhang clan of Yunming also employed nets, of course, but he had always simply jumped into the river and hauled the water ghosts ashore because he was so good at swimming. But that was definitely too dangerous a method for him to use in front of the lands, lest it reach Lan Qiren's ears and get him chewed out again. He changed the subject. It'd be good if there were something like fish bait that could lure the water ghosts to us on their own, or something that could pinpoint their positions like a compass. Keep your head down and watch the water. Focus on your target. You and your wild imagination again, Zheng Chang said. Cultivation and flying swords used to be nothing for someone's wild imagination too, Wei Wuxian argued. He looked down. Coincidentally, he could see the bottom of sampan. He could see the bottom of the sampan that Lan Wangji was riding. An idea hit him and he called out, "Lan Chan, look at me." He's not doing this on purpose, guys. He's actually doing it so that he can catch the water ghost. Lan Wangji was on guard and concentrating, so he looked to him in reflex when he heard the call. But all he saw was Wei Wuxian splash the water with his bamboo pole, sending a wave of water splashing over. Wei Wuxian tipped his toes and leaped slightly onto another sampan, dodging the splash. Upset that Wei Wuxian really had come just a horse around, he gritted his teeth. Frivolous. However, Wei Wuxian gave a kick to the side of the sampan he had been standing on. With the flick of his pole, the boat flipped upside down, revealing the bottom, and the planks of that bottom there clung 3 bloated faces and ghastly pale water ghosts. The closest sect disciples immediately suppressed them. Lan Xichen smiled. "Wei Gongzi, how did you know they were at the bottom of the sampan?" Wei Wuxian knocked on the side of the sampan. "Easy. The boat draft was wrong. He was the only one on the sampan just then. Yet the load draft was heavier than the weight of 2 people. So there had to be something clinging to the bottom." "Experienced as expected," Lan Xichen commended. Wei Wuxian gently stirred the water with his pole. The little sampan sped up, and he slid in next to Lan Wangji. With the two sampans side by side, he said, "Lan Chan, I wasn't trying to splash you on purpose earlier. Water ghosts are shrewd, so if I said something first, they would have run away if they heard me. Hey, don't ignore me. Come on, look at me." Lan Wangji condescended to cast him a glance. "Why have you come?" Wei Wuxian replied sincerely, "To offer an apology. It was my fault last night. I was wrong." I think I'll do maybe this page or these next 2 pages. And then... Actually, I think I want to do these 2 pages because the next page is about Wei Wuxian's sword name, which is fabulous. Lan Wangji's face was faintly dark. Probably because he hadn't forgotten exactly how Wei Wuxian had last offered him an apology. Despite knowing the answer, Wei Wuxian asked, "Why do you look so upset?" "Don't worry, I'm really here to help today." Zhang couldn't watch this anymore and piped up, "If you're helping, then stop talking and get over here." One of the sect disciples shouted, "The net has moved." Sure enough, the ropes of the net abruptly started jerking. Wei Wuxian instantly perked up. "It's here, it's here." Long hair thick as fine black silk swirled near the dozens of little boats, and pair after pair of ghastly white hands clawed at the sides of the sampans. Lan Wangji twisted his hands back to draw his sword. Beechen was unsheathed, and the motion cleanly sliced off a dozen wrists of the left side of the boat, leaving only the hands, their fingers still deeply dug into the wood. Just as he was going for the right hand, a red glare flashed past him, and Wei Wuxian was already sheathing his sword. The strange movement in the water ceased, and the net calmed once more. Wei Wuxian's move had been extremely fast, but Lan Wangji had still seen that it was a top-grade spiritual sword he was carrying. He asked respectfully, "What is the name of your sword?" "Whatever," Wei Wuxian replied. Lan Wangji stared at him. Wei Wuxian thought he hadn't heard properly and repeated himself. "Whatever." Lan Wangji frowned and rejected the answer. "That sword has a spirit. It is disrespectful to call it whatever." Wei Wuxian sighed. "Think outside the box, won't you? I'm not telling you to call it whatever. I'm saying the name of my sword is the word whatever. Suibun. Here, you see?" He passed over his sword to show Lan Wangji the characters engraved on it. Within the engravings on the scabbard were the carvings of 2 ancient characters, and what they spelled was the sword Suibun. Lan Wangji was at a loss for words. So basically, the sword is actually named whatever. The words whatever. He makes more mistakes than he apologized for, trust me. Wei Wuxian considerably explained, "You don't have to say anything. I know, you must be wondering why I gave it that name. Everyone asks if there's a special meaning to it. To be honest though, there isn't. It's just that when Zhang Shushu was bestowing the sword upon me, he asked me what I wanted to call it. I thought over 20 names at the time and wasn't happy with any of them. So I thought, why don't I let Zhang Shushu give it a name instead? So I responded with, whatever. He would have figured that when the sword was forged and came out of the kiln, that would be the word on it. Zhang Shushu said, since that's the case, let the sword be called Suibun. It's not exactly such a bad name, don't you think? At last, Wei Wuxian squeezed a word out through the cracks of his teeth. Absurd. Wei Wuxian slung the sword over his shoulder. You're too boring. The name is so much fun. It fools uptight people like you every single time. Just then, within the jade-green lake, a long black shadow circled around the sampans and flashed past. Zhang Chang had just finished cutting down the water ghosts on his side and was still scanning around to see if there were any left when he saw the black shadow. He immediately shouted, "It's come again!" Several sect disciples pushed over with nets to pursue the black shadow in the water. Then another cry came from the other side. "There's more here too!" Alright. And that is the end of the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 30 more pages and then we hit chapter 5, which is called The Sunny Pair, which is great. But yeah, they are now fighting water ghosts, which is great. And I believe we're so close. I think once we hit chapter 5, we'll be halfway through the book. Well, technically, we are already halfway through the book because the ending part of the book is basically like telling you about all the different names and what the Chinese names and stuff mean. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. We're almost at the end of the chapter, and we found out a little bit more about Wei Wuxian and the three people, Zhang Chang, Wei Wuxian, and Ni Huasong. And seeing Wei Wuxian tease Lan Wangji with the porn book that Ni Huasong allowed Wei Wuxian to show Lan Chan, which is great. And we now have the ship which is now sailing, and Lan Xiqian is shipping Wang Xian, making sure that his brother gets it all in the feels for Wei Wuxian. So he's trying to keep them together, trying to get them to be a couple, which happens in the future, but it takes a long time to do so. But that's mainly because they are very not good at communicating between each other, and Lan Chan is not very good at showing his emotions and feelings towards others, so he doesn't really show him the love and appreciation for him, so yeah, that's always nice. But that will be the end of today's stream, and in the next stream next week we'll be able to finish off this chapter and move on to chapter 5. I don't remember how many chapters there are. How many chapters are there? I forgot. There are 7 chapters, so we have 2 more after chapter 5. Chapter 5 is called The Sunny Pair, which is chapters 19 to 22 on the web sterilization. Okay, that's interesting. And then chapter 6 is called The Malevolent. Chapter 7 is The Morning Doom. And then the appendix at the very back, which is the character and name guide and the glossary. So yeah, it's a long of a time that one of them actually dies. Literally. But the way he dies is not great, but obviously it can't be helped, and we'll find out more about why Wei Wuxian was on the demonic path and how he became that way, what happens with his golden core. We'll find out about really bad things that happen in the future, and yeah, long story. But we will call it a stream today. Tomorrow I will decide in the morning if I want to record the video for the reaction. Actually, let me check the Twitter real quick. Let me refresh the page so that I can see what's going on with the poll. Recently, there have been YouTube companies and VTuber companies and VTube agencies liking my posts, which is insane to me. I haven't had anyone contact me, but they've been liking it, so I guess that's one sign, which is pretty cool. On the post about the reaction videos, I've had 2 votes on YouTube edited video instead of the Twitch stream edited. So if that still stands by tomorrow morning, I'll pre-record a video of the first episode and I'll edit it, and then I'll upload that as soon as I possibly can. And then that'll be tomorrow's video done. There won't be a stream tomorrow, but I will try and upload that video as soon as I can tomorrow before I go to work. If not, it will be after I come back from work. So, yeah. I think that will be it for today's stream. VTuber companies, that's dope. Yeah, basically, let me have a look at this one. This one is known as Cyblin's VTuber company. An international VTuber company. Our vision is to connecting V creators worldwide. They have 686 followers, which, yeah. And the other one is called Bondlive EN VTube Agency. Bilingual Japanese-English VTuber agency. Bondlive English, official English Twitter account. They have 6,187 followers. So, yeah. But that will do for today's stream. And tomorrow I'll make the decision about the reaction video for the Mudazushi reaction. And then Friday, either going to be Honkai Star Rail or Mass Effect. And then Saturday, Genshin in the morning, Honkai Star Rail in the afternoon. And then Sunday, something, probably Mass Effect, Honkai Star Rail, or Sakura Wars or something. I don't know. But hopefully you enjoyed the stream, guys. If you did, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you for Vishesh for stopping by in the stream. I appreciate you. And I'm going to end the stream now. I'm going to do whatever I need to do. And I will catch you guys tomorrow for the upload or the stream, depending on the result of the poll. For the Mudazushi reaction. So, yeah. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, I will catch you guys later. See you later, everyone!